Okay, welcome to Media Talks with me, Adebisi Adetunji. And over here, it's all about equipping media professionals with skills, information, knowledge to help each person grow, modify, and evolve in their media career. Anyone just starting out and anyone who has spent years in the industry can, of course, glean a lot from every episode of the Media Talks. As I try to bring people doing amazing things in their own field, in their own right, to teach us. We all learn together. I am also learning. And today I have a very creative person in the house. She's a friend. She's a colleague. We are in the media and digital era. If you are not joining the race or the team, I tell you, you are the only one on that platform. You need to get into the digital space. So it's not just all about, registering with Facebook, Instagram, all the digital platforms you can think of. How do you actually maneuver and make maximum use of those platforms to your own advantage? I have in the house Ramatu Ochekliye. She is the founder of Shades of Us. And of course, I've worked with her as a knowledge management expert. She is so good. Welcome to Media Talks, Ramat.
Thank you so much. I am very glad to be here. And I really commend you for the work that you're doing, trying to help people in the media space find out new ways that they can improve their skill, improve their abilities, and also to expand their reach, because the media is such a huge, it plays such a huge role in what is happening in any nation, in the development of the nation. So if we're able to harness new opportunities and new technologies and new methods generally, we have better media personnel who are able to really hold the Republic to account and ensure that our development advances very well. So well done for putting this together.
Thank you. So basically, we are taking a look at the effective use of social media for campaigns and, of course, for personal branding, business branding, or career branding, as it were. So tell us again, maybe you may want to talk a little bit about yourself. What sparked your interest in the digital space? What are your skill sets? Let us get to know you more.
Okay, so you've mentioned I am the founder of Shades of Us. Shades of Us is a storytelling organization that seeks to address issues around 11 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And we started out really like a joke, to be honest. It was me, wanting to rant about the issues that I cared about. And so the one place I had, at that time, I used to work on radio and TV. And I looked at it, I was like, I didn't have that, freedom for radio and TV. I had editors, I had supervisors. So there was only about a certain thing that I could put out. And then I was very expressive about the things that were happening in the country. So I wanted to talk about them. And by that point, Facebook was already big. Most people had Facebook. And I was always on Facebook. I was always writing something. And people say I'm long-winded. So you see something long on Facebook. And I kept doing it. And a friend of mine, one day called me and said, this was in February of 2014, and said, do you know that you should start a blog, that you write consistently on Facebook, and maybe you should start a blog and reach even bigger audiences outside who you have curated on Facebook? And by this point, I knew what blogs were. I was following a couple of them. I was interested in it. And I said, you know what? Okay, maybe this is something that I can do. And every time I talk about, my journey, I remember this friend, Charles Emuze is his name. He's also a media person. And he just said, write a blog, put out your content. And I started the blog on April 28, 2014. And I started just writing about issues that I cared about and using, I'll write on the blog and share on social media, write on the blog and share. And then, when I had my first 1,000 views, I was like, I've landed.
Wow. Wow.
And I was so excited because it meant that people were connecting to what I was writing. And then in the back end, I was seeing that people from the United States, New Zealand, the UK, they were connecting. I said, okay, this seems like a very interesting thing. By this point, again, 2014, Twitter was like, I think I say it openly that I was addicted to Twitter. I was always online tweeting, following the conversations. I said, you know what? Put out your work also. And I started to put out my work. About that same time, I was, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. But on Instagram, I was like, okay, this one is for Shakara. LinkedIn is, let me be serious. Twitter is where I see myself. And so I continue to do that. And over the years, we celebrated 10 years of Shades of Us this year. And it
Oh
just
wow, 10 years
Yes,
already.
10 years
Wow.
already that we have been
Wow.
doing Shades of Us that started out as a joke. And then over a while, we sort of realized that, okay, this is more than just me talking about the things I care about. Like, we were connecting with organizations that were also working with the sustainable development goals. We were connecting with individuals who cared about the sustainable development. And so people were connecting with so many people. And I said, this social media is working. Oh, it's not just a
Really
joke.
working.
Yes, it's not really just a joke. It's so I now started to learn about branding now, because now I knew, okay, you could reach people on social media, but we also needed to understand how best to brand ourselves. Again, for an organization, you need to have your voice. I think that's the first point I'll talk about. That what is your voice, so that even if you have 200 staff and they are all writing on this your social media, nobody will be able to distinguish the difference between them. You can always say, oh, this is the voice of the organization. And that was the first thing we sort of created. What was our voice? When we learned what was our voice, and we said, okay, this is our voice, this is our style. We want people to see us as a serious bunch, but people that can also be fun, can be interesting, and we talk about the issues that matter. We were good. The next thing is, again, branding in terms of colors. That's where our logos began to come up, and then our branding, our name, and everything. And so we needed to make sure that our voice, which you now have, one, the language, two, your tone, three, how you're branding yourself. All of this is still part of your voice. So when we found all of this and we put it together, we're like, okay, we are ready to move forward with this. So our voice was good. The next thing we needed to know is, what message did we want to tell? That was the second point. So, one, the Sustainable Development Goals are 17. And as much as I want to talk about life underwater, life above water, life in the air, it was just not my thing. I didn't really feel like that was a thing. But you see, when you talk about no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, I was like, these are the things that I like. Decent work. I also looked at reducing inequalities, climate action, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and then partnering for the goals. I said, okay, out of these 17, 11 of them really speak to who we are as a people. So we decided our messaging was going to be around these 11 goals, and we will continue to talk about them to try to get, one, policymakers to understand why it's important to put things in place to improve the lives of people across these 11 goals. Two, for people to even know that it's not abnormal to say you need quality education. It's not abnormal to say there should be gender equality. It's not abnormal to say that we should focus on what is happening with the climate, because climate has a ripple effect across all of our work. And so when we learned, okay, this is what we wanted to talk about, the next thing was who do we want to talk to? Because it's one thing to have a voice, it's another to talk about your message, but who are the people you want to talk to? Again, we are sort of very biased about issues that affect women, children, people with disability, and we want to also talk to people who are gender non-conforming. We now realize that there's an ecosystem for all of these people. One, you have the government who makes policies that affects these people. That's one. Two, you also have spouses of these people, or parents, or people in their immediate family. They also would, by some way, be part of who we wanted to talk to. Then we also had, for example, people who influence behavior in communities, religious leaders, traditional leaders. Nigeria is very big on, our leaders. We really respect them. So again, we needed to see how we would include them in our conversation. And so when we created who were our primary audience, that was the first thing. Who were our secondary audience. That was the second thing. And then who can benefit? You know, there are some times when you might be passing by, maybe let me use a popular example. A politician is dashing people money. You might be passing by, or you might not be a part of that constituency, but if they're dashing people money that day and you collect, you know, there's some, you know, how some benefits might not necessarily be for you, but because you are in that space, you might be open to it. So we laughed about things like that and said, okay, who will be our third audience? And we looked at it that, okay, we want to talk about Africans, people of African descent. But again, some of our things has this intersectionality with other people who are not Africans, who are not Black like we are. And we saw it with our podcast. We had a lot of white demographics listening to our podcast. So again, you needed to curate them as a third kind of audience. And then when we had done this, it was like, okay, now we know our voice. Now we know the message we want to tell. We have now known the people we want to talk to. But again, you cannot find all of these people on all of the platforms. So the next question that came to mind is, where do we want to talk to them on? Where can we find these people? Which is the fourth point. So one, Facebook already had the numbers. They had over, by that point, they had around there, I think they had just crossed 1 billion people. So we knew that Facebook was giving us the numbers. Twitter was also growing in Nigeria because a lot of people were using it for activism. A lot of Black nations were also using it for activism. So Twitter was great. And then we looked at LinkedIn has professionals, and a lot of professionals were jumping on LinkedIn. So we also had to consider LinkedIn. Instagram, we said we may not have a lot of pictures like that, but Instagram is a way, before the algorithm change, we were like, Instagram is a way to also get people, even if it's just to see us and say, these people are here. And that's what we did. So we now curated these 4 channels, and then we created a WhatsApp business page for us so that we could move forward with it. And it was nice because for a while Facebook was great, for a while Twitter or X was great, Instagram was great also for a while, but then we started to see the shift in the algorithm over time, especially in the last 5 years. As the algorithm began to shift, we also needed to adapt. Facebook now, if you're not promoting Facebook and Instagram, if you're not promoting your content, it's very hard for people to see you. So you either have to be doing something that is controversial or that is sports related, people, what do you call entertainment, for people to really look at you. So we needed to make sure that across board, we were preparing ourselves for changing algorithms for these social media platforms. I didn't like TikTok, and I have to say it, I didn't like TikTok for the longest time. I was like, no, it's not for me. It's like this and that. But when I later realized that TikTok is this powerful platform for videos, and we just, in fact, to be honest, it was just this year we said, let's consider TikTok. Let's put out some of our content and see how it does. I decided doing like the numbers we will not get on any other platform. We started getting them on TikTok, and it was like, wow, have we been sleeping for such a long time? Like, so again, we started realizing that TikTok is a great platform, and there's so many social media platforms. At the last count, I have this thing I use when I do trainings on the social media platforms. We had over 500 social media platforms. I'm not saying just websites and what have you. I'm saying social media platforms. Some of them, yes, they are dating related. Some are education related. Some are chat related. But imagine the opportunities that you have across multiple platforms. That's that. So I've talked about one, your voice; the second, the message; the third, the audience; the fourth is the platform, which is important. Now I want to dwell on this a little bit because I've been talking as an organization, and it's easy for people to just think, it's because they're an organization. Everything I did for the organization, I tested out on my personal profile first. If I wanted
Interesting. Nice.
if I wanted to do, say I wanted to start putting out videos, I would test it on my personal profile and be like, okay, let me see how a video works on my personal profile. And it was working, and people were engaging with my video. I said, okay, if this is working on a personal page, it can work on my what do you call it, work page. And so LinkedIn, for example, in fact, I did more for my personal page because I wanted that visibility, that branding. I wanted people to know that I was someone who was really focused on what do you call it? Social media, communication, knowledge management. So I was always at a point I was doing a weekly, this is Ramat, this is what I did this week, this is what I achieved. And I wasn't just talking about the good sides, because that's one thing that happens on social media. People like to present that good side. Oh, I am this, I have achieved a lot, I have achieved this much, I have done this great thing. But for me, it was also about showing some of your processes, showing the days when you didn't feel good about yourself, which brings me to the next point. If you have a voice, you have your message, you have your audience, you have your platform. The next thing is you need to have a human face to what you're doing to effectively use social media. So it's one thing to just put out content. Oh, what do you call it? We support the sustainable development goals. We do this. No, a lot of people might not connect to it because they want to see the person behind it. They want to see that you are a human being, that you fail sometimes.
Yes.
Why?
Yeah.
When we did for a long time, we were so serious with our page, especially for Shades of Us. We were always using all of those words that people in development know: sustainability, ownership, and all of these things. And our interaction, in fact, there was a point where consistently we had zero interactions across every platform. Zero. I'm
Wow.
not saying that one person
Wow.
is zero.
Wow.
Zero
Across.
across all platforms. So I had to sit back again and say, look, this is not working. This is not, we need to humanize this page. And so the first time we humanize, like, oh, we are proud, like, start on a Monday, for example, and we say something like, we're, thank God the weekend is over, or let's say a new week starts today with so much energy. We wish you a wonderful week. Cheers to you. And the interactions started coming back because,
Yeah,
again,
because now you are talking to people,
to
at
people.
their
I
level.
wasn't just throwing out ideas. I was talking to people. And then when we started showing what do you call it? We show, oh, we have done this film, or then we go back and show something like, look at the behind the scene of making this film. And people are look, oh, look at the stress, and then maybe they see me kneeling down, when we are filming, or they see me holding the light. They're like, this person is very relatable. It's not just, oh, you have taken one fine picture and then you're like, oh, I shot my film and we have released it. No, the behind the scene tells a story that a lot of work went into this particular thing that happened. Or sometimes when I just write, I failed on this, and that, and I'm not proud of myself at this moment. I feel sad. I remember recently on X, I tweeted that this was at that point I had sent out 250 applications, and I said the last time I sent out 256 applications and with no response, that I went into a depression. And this time I said I'm hoping I don't go into a depression. That I'm sad that because you think you're really good at something, and then 250 applications is a lot, that even the best people will begin to question themselves. And a lot of people came in and they said, don't worry about it, you have to
I
keep
imagine.
going. That, I also applied for almost like 300. Another person came back and said, God, that when I collected rejection yesterday, my head was nearly broken. And we now started encouraging ourselves. A simple tweet led to people now say, okay, can I be your accountability partner? I'll send you job applications when they come up, things that I know that you're interested in. Somebody said on your LinkedIn, please put that the tag, the badge, open to work. Another person is saying, oh, do this. And like that, because I was willing to show that weakness, people were also willing to accept that, oh, okay, I'm not the only person on this road. And that is why that human thing
So the humanity is connecting with other people.
completely. There are
Okay,
key,
before
there are
you
key, okay.
before you go on, I want to, like take you back a bit. I hear you talking about working with radio and TV.
Yes.
Now, how did you dovetail from, were you posting and doing digital, branding and, making yourself visible while you were working with TV and radio?
Mhm.
And How did you tell us how you dovetail from being a media, working in the mainstream media as TV and radio, to now in the development space and doing what you are doing?
Okay, so to be honest, I started social media before I joined TV. I was, in fact, the year Facebook came out was the year I joined Facebook. The year X came out was the year I joined X.
You were following them bumper to
I
bumper.
was, I always tell people that I'm one person who used my addiction to go and find work with my addiction. So I was always, anytime I heard something new, I was always going online, top social media platforms. And if I see Facebook today, download, and I start using it, I try it. Like, so from my early university days, I was already using social media, and I was using it a lot. It wasn't really for good. It was mostly catching my phone,
Catching cruise,
being
as
like
they say.
catching cruise. So when I went for service, before then I had already been doing work on gender equality, and like doing stage dramas in church, doing writing poems, writing magazines for people. So I was already sharing those ideas. So when I got to the university and I was, doing social media, I continued to share the ideas. So again, I like to mention people who have opened the door for me. I was just sitting down during my service one day, February 7th, 2013, and he was my HOD in church, and he called me and he said, "Oh, Ramat, I want you to be on radio today. That we have this show that I want you to be on radio. It's a campus show, and you'd like it." And I was like, "Hey God, I don't even have clothes, I don't have this," and I was making all sorts of excuses. He said, "I said radio. I did not say TV."
Exactly.
Come on
There's a
radio.
difference between radio and TV.
Exactly. So I went on that radio show, just 1 hour conversation. It was so good. I felt so energized. And then after that 1 hour conversation, the supervisor, Madam Chika, she's, again, I love to mention the people who open the doors. Madam Chika reaches out to me and says, "Hi, that I heard you on radio and you sound very good on radio. You, like, it was such an engaging show." She was the supervisor then. I was at FM Gotel in Adamawa State, and she was the supervisor of the FM unit. And she said, "Do you think you'd like to come in and do maybe a couple of shows?" I was like, I didn't even know how to do a show prep, didn't know how to script, didn't I knew nothing about this.
But you had the voice.
I in her mind, I had energy for radio. And so what I did was I was willing to learn. I can never take away that fact. One, because I studied biochemistry, has nothing to do with media production.
Oh,
Has
wow.
absolutely. So I had to sit down. What are the things I need to know to do radio? I knew that it was not just about opening the mic and just talking. I took my time, took some courses, read what do you need for radio, what kind of voice do you need, what kind of. After a month, the person who was doing Campus 360 told me I would start leading Campus 360, do the script and lead the show. And I was like, "Hey God, why do people trust me like this and what have you?" But I took my time, scripted every single thing I was going to say. Once I had the script and everything, he read it. It was good. And this person is Stanley Innocent. And then he tells me, "Lead the show." And I lead the show, and he sends me a message. "I think I can rest now because I have people who can move on with the show." And I was like, "Hey God."
It was that good.
It was. So again, we continue to do. And then he told me, "Oh, I understudy this person. There's tools in Lagos." I said, "Understudy tools." By this point, I was already listening a lot to Angie Martinez. There's a lot of radio. I was listening to the Breakfast Club. It was for me prime radio, the Breakfast Club and Hot 97, and I love talk radio. So I didn't listen that time to a lot of Nigerian people. So he said, "Go and listen to Tools." That Tools is somebody that you listen to. And from the first day I turned on my mic and I listened to Tools, I was like, no, I'm gone. This is the person that I should be learning from radio. So as much as I was in Adamawa State, I was listening to listening to radio in Lagos State. I was listening to Hot FM I think Hot FM is in New York. I was listening to Angie Martinez in New York. I was listening to Oprah, and then I was listening to a lot of podcasts. So if I learned something, maybe a cadence or something, and they did well, I'll say, "Let me go and try it." and see on radio.
I really love, your craft. This is also speaking to owning your craft. You were not just speaking on radio, but you were listening to people on the
Of,
international level. You were listening
of
to
course.
radio out of your state. You were listening to
Yes.
podcasts. I mean, that's the way to go if one wants to, really prosper and progress and
You
succeed
must
in
develop
this
yourself.
profession. Yeah.
You really must develop yourself. And I met a lot of people on radio who made me. I met people who would just on the mic and they will be fantastic. And I met people who said to be fantastic, you have to actually script your show. And for me, I felt, oh, I can gist. But there's a point where you actually have to script if you want to be good. The
Because
best
you can run out of gist and then you can say
exactly,
what you are not supposed to say. I love that.
exactly.
Thank you for sharing that.
So
Now let's bring it back
that's
home to,
yes,
to our conversation about, making use of the digital space to brand yourself. You spoke about, the voice, your tone, your language. You talked about branding. You have talked about what kind of message do you want to share. You
yes,
have talked about who do you want to talk to, that is your audience. Who,
yes,
who are you targeting with your messaging? And you talked about platform. You have to look at what platform, works for you.
yes.
And then you also have to know what platform is actually promoting your work. Like you
True.
said that the algorithm
Very,
now on
very
Facebook,
true.
if you are not paying, not many people may see you. So you might
Mhm.
want to invest in, advert or promotion. Then
Yeah,
you also need to know the platform that works for you. And I love that aspect of, don't only share the very packaged posh side of your business or your brand or yourself. You should also be human. Let your audience know the process of how you arrived at what you have. And then sometimes you can show a little bit of your humanness, your feeling, your how you don't have it together all of the time. I
true.
love that, and I'm going to take away. I'm taking that. I do some form of humanness, but I think we package too much.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
it's good to
packaging.
package. There's
Yes,
absolutely nothing wrong in packaging yourself,
package.
but you also need to let people know that you are human.
You are
And when
human.
people see that you are human, they will connect to you so well. Because everybody, there are central themes that humans connect to: love, hate, friendship, fear, hope.
Yeah.
So if somebody sees you showing the side of you where fear, they will connect to you, where hope for something. Imagine now with what's happening, fuel prices so expensive, and then maybe you come out and say, "Kai, this absence of wealth, I can't go to the office." I assure you, there'll be 1,000 people who are like
That
you,
will
or a
respond.
million people who are like you, who can't go to the office because they cannot get fuel. So if we're able to show various sides, and that's why we chose our name, that shades of us is to show that we are not just one directional. There are multiple aspects of what makes us who we are. And that's
Yeah.
why we show good, bad, sometimes ugly, and just to make sure that we are human to the audience that we're trying to reach.
All right. Thank you so much. So I'm going to try that, become being more human.
Yes.
In my storytelling. Now I want to just speak to how can we. I think a lot of people struggle with how to brand themselves online. As an individual, how do I brand myself? How do I make myself visible?
Mhm.
Sometimes it is your personality you are branding. Sometimes it is your work, or just a mix of everything. How can we better create visibility for ourselves and what we do online, aside some of the things you mentioned?
Okay, so this ties back to the message you want to put out. If, for example, you're doing entertainment, you need to understand that entertainment requires a certain look. Um, Wear makeup, for example, wear the flashy clothes. If you want to talk sports, for example, maybe you want to wear a jersey and you knowing that, okay, it might be two things. If you wear, for example, a Manchester United jersey and an Arsenal fan doesn't like you, he might engage for the sake of I want to fight this person. But then like a Manchester United fan might be like, no, this is my guy for this reason. I'm going to join you on this. So again, first and foremost, you need to know what is this language, what is this message I want to give out. When you know your message, you are now better able to say, okay, this is how I want to. For
So,
me
so,
now,
so by that you mean, for entertainment sports, easy. But I hear people say, "What do you want to be known for?" Because
exactly.
in terms of you want to promote your career now, what you do, the things you do, just to sell yourself, and
Yeah.
create opportunity. So some people say, "What do you want to be known for?" Is that boxing ourselves in, or I really don't know.
I think that one way or the other, we are known for something. Some people are known, okay, oh, I am pushing out maybe work around sustainable development. Some people are known, they push out things like financial advice. Some people like Chimamanda Adichie, you just know that anything she's putting out is tied to, books, tied to African culture, tied to women's equality. So one way or another, we are known for one or two or maybe three things for some people. I don't think it's necessarily boxing yourself. Because, for example, if I'm in the media space and I'm saying, oh, I want to be known for media, communication, knowledge management, they are big boxes. So even if I do other things around these big boxes, I don't really get out of these big boxes that I'm talking about. So, what is that thing that you feel you should be known for? Do you want to be known for media? Do you want to be known for monitoring and evaluation? Do you want to be known for mathematics? There are people like that. They go online and all they do is
Yeah,
they teach you how to solve complex mathematics.
yeah.
People like Fisayo Osudo, who is also known for unboxing technology, trying out new technology and telling you the best things that work with them. There is a guy on TikTok, I can't remember his name. He's known strictly for telling you stories that nobody has spoken about on the media. So he'll tell you, oh, today this is not trending on our media stations, but look at what's happening in Tanzania, look at what's happening in Iran, look at what's happening. He has news that is not in your mainstream media. That's what he's known for. There's also another guy on TikTok who is known for telling stories. He just starts with, there was a girl in this country. That's all. He will give you the entire story, and it's crime stories. And by the time you're done, you'll be like, hey, God, what is happening? There's a girl also on YouTube. She does stories, true crime. And how she does her true crime is she starts her true crime doing makeup. She's telling you the story. She's doing her makeup. By the time she's done, she has finished her makeup for the day. And she's like, okay, I'm done. See you. I'm going out now. See you next week. That is her thing. You have to find how you want to be out there. I'm a bit serious. I don't like to go and dance, goofy dance, join on. That's not my personality. But there are some people that you will see them. Funke Akindele is a filmmaker. Once you see her on any trend, you see her do the trends because one, as long as ties to that filmmaking, acting kind of thing, it
Yeah.
works. For me, I still do film, but you will never see me jump on the trend going
To
to
be
say
dancing.
that's enough. This and that. I do my, it's really not for me. So who are you as a you need to know yourself. When you know yourself, then you know what is the message I want to give out. It will now help you streamline how you want to brand yourself. Because if you want to brand yourself like Idima, it might not work for you. There are so many girls who have been doing makeup, have never gotten the things that Idima has gotten for herself in this life. And then there are some people that, you just want to be serious. There's a guy I follow on LinkedIn. He does real estate business consultancy. He will wear the nicest, what do you call it, kaftan, the nicest senator with his cap, and he'll just drop maybe two lines. Business is this, and that's all. That's what he does. So he wants to be seen as this mogul, rich guy who talks about business. So you need to first find out who you are as a person and what do you want to brand yourself as. It's very easy to get lost. I see so many people stand up, they want to be like this person, and then they do maybe after 10 videos, they realize, this thing, they help my life, but there's no money in it. Then they stop.
Agree.
You see this Asoka trend that is on TikTok and even real. First lady who did it took her time to do this video. And guess what? She had 30 million likes, meaning that the views would have been almost like maybe 200 or 300 million views on that video. And a lot of people wanted to jump on it, but they didn't have that particular video. People were shooting for 7 to 10 hours to shoot a 1 minute video. And then if you now say, me, I want to go and do, me too, I want to go and do this and that, and you don't have the patience to go and shoot for 10 hours, I don't have the editing skills that make the transition so clean, you might get lost along the way. So it's always better to find who you are, what you want to tell, how best it is to tell it. My team keeps telling me, Ramatu, you should join TikTok trend. I say, cancel me from that. I'm not that. Maybe you guys can join the TikTok trend, because I have a team of very young people, and I'm like, you can do it too. I won't stop you. But me, Ramat,
You are not TikTok.
not me. It's not me. It's how I will also not go and start cooking on a show, or try to put myself by putting food. I can't do it. If somebody like me, it's her life, and she has found out that I love to cook, I love to put out food, and that's her person. So you need to find out for yourself, who am I? Once you answer that question, and what message do I want to, or like you said, do I want to be known? Once you know that for yourself, because it's not the two of us. There are people who do makeup. Even in that makeup field, they do completely different things. There are people who are doing sports, they do completely different things, technology, development, what's it? So find yourself, find who you want, then you'll be able to find how you.
I like that. So find yourself. You are not everybody. I've met people that they don't like to take pictures. They don't necessarily show pictures, but they just write and tell stories, and they have a large following because they are adding value to people. So I think it makes a lot of sense. As we kind of wrap up this. So in terms of when you want to create visibility, there's that thing about consistency. Can you speak to consistency and how we can do it? Because again, developing content for the digital space, it's not rice and beans. So it's a lot of stress and and work. So how can we minimally do it? Do we have to post every day? Can't we do just twice in a week? I don't
I am
know.
just largely just consistency. So there are people who post once a week, and that's all. They post at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. once a week. And every week, see, there's something Omoni Oboli is doing now. Every Friday by 5 p.m., she has a new film. I assure you, 5 p.m., 100,000 people are going to wait for her, because she's training her audience to come to her at a specific time. She doesn't need to put film on Thursday. She doesn't need to put film on Saturday. If she puts her film on Friday at 5 p.m., people will come to her. There's something we also did with Shades of Us. I mentioned that there was a point where we were having zero engagement, right? We kept putting and we're getting zero engagement. We'll adapt to get zero engagement. And natural instinct would have been, I better forget about this thing. People don't care about your work. But we continued. Since April 28, 2014, we have put out content almost every day, back to back. Even on the worst days ever, we have put out content almost every day. So now when I see engagement, people are like, oh my God, I go on Instagram, I will put a post, we'll have 100 likes. I'll be like, there was a point we were not getting any. So consistency is one of the most, and that's where people fail in terms of branding themselves or branding their career, their path, or whatever. That's the hardest thing. Starting is not the hard one. No. In fact, ending something that you're doing is not the hard thing. You see that consistency that keeps in between starting and where you are going. That is where a lot of people lose it. So you don't need to post every day. You can decide, I want to post once a week.
Once a week.
Post once a day. Like for us, we post like 5 content every day. And I use behavioral economics to see when people are online for some of these things. Like, for example, when people, in Nigeria, a lot of people go to school or work from 7 a.m., 6:30 actually, down to like 9:30. People are still trying to find their way to work. So I make sure there's content around that time. We also have lunch. Generally, our lunch is from 1 to 2 most times. I put content around that time because these are the times that people are more likely to check their phone. When people are driving back home from 4 to like 7, depending on where you're staying and if there's traffic and what have you, people are more likely to also check there. So we put content around that, but we share 5 posts, regardless of what is happening. 5 posts every day. We put, so that's how we have designed our own page. Again, you need to also design your page for you, and you need to understand that consistency is not just about putting your work; it's about training your audience to look for your work.
Look for your work at a certain time.
At a certain time. This is why our films, when we're growing up, Super Story, everybody knew Super Story came up Thursdays at 8 p.m. They were training us to come and look for them. So it goes beyond putting out your content and finding your audience. You also need to get to a point where you are making sure your audience is coming to find you. See what is happening with what's happening with FK Abudu and I've forgotten her partner's name. They do I Said What I Said podcast. Before the podcast drops, every time people come to look for them. Like, our podcast is coming up, or we need to hear the latest gist. You need to first put out content to find your audience and find new audiences, but you also need to put out content that brings your audience, the audience. I know these people put out content at this time, and then they come and look for you. So consistency, it is where many people lose out in terms of this thing that we are talking about. But if you're consistent, you might not always win today. Consistency sometimes will not look good to you that is doing it. It can feel like you're wasting your time. But if you do continue to put out your content, you do continue to what do you call it? Be consistent at it. People will come and find you. There was a
Eventually.
time we were not putting out new content on our podcast site. We were just sharing old content consistently. And I'll go to the back end and see 1,000 listens this week. I'll be like, how? Because again, it's not new content. If it's new content, I will know that it's new content that is coming.
But now new audience are finding you.
Are finding us.
Okay.
So consistency, you can't beat consistency when you're trying to brand yourself. If I put out content today, Monday, and I say next week, Monday, I want to put out another content, people will know, oh, there's on this day, this person puts it. And then you train them to come and look for you.
So I like what I'm hearing. So what you're saying is that do you be yourself? Don't go to the digital platform to be anybody. You can learn, glean a few secret and styles and strategies here and there, but be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else. Then you don't have to post. Some people post, they have time to post 5 times in a day. You may not have that time. So if you can post once a week at a particular time and you're consistent with it, it's still something good, very good for you that will eventually work. So the important thing is to keep, showing up. So do you have
what
you said?
I say keep showing up.
And then it will, so I get discouraged too sometimes. I'm like, I've been putting in my best, but then let's keep doing it and keep showing up. So what final words do you have for people watching this video about visibility and digital branding and all of that?
Okay, so my word would be that a lot of people assume that social media is bad. They really think that social media is bad, not necessarily. So I never try to see the bad side of social media. I think everything in life can be bad, whether it's your newspaper, your print, or what have you. But your digital media presents you opportunities that almost no other platform gives you, which is the fact that I can be here in Nigeria, in my small village where I'm living, and I put out something on the digital space, and somebody as far as Australia is the farthest country from Nigeria if we want to look at it exponentially. Australia is probably 26 hours away from us. And so, but somebody in Australia would find my content and learn of a little girl in Abuja in Nigeria and they may never ever step out of their continent, but will find me here in Nigeria. So the opportunities that the digital space gives us is far wider than we can imagine. And I assure you, some people have gotten grants, some people have gotten money to improve their skill, some people
Yeah.
have gotten headhunted. I'm not saying just headhunting within a country, headhunted to a different country just because of what they have put up
They
about
found
themselves.
them online, right?
Yes. So the digital space is an opportunity space, and I think people should continue to maximize it, use it very well, learn new and adaptive methods that you can use to put your content, and be consistent with what you do. I assure you that your future will be fantastic if you keep putting yourself out there.
So thank you so much for coming.
Thank
I
you.
hear you. I really, really hear you. So
Mm.
the social media or digital space is a global platform. You cannot afford to be left behind. You have
Yes.
to get in there, do your thing, do something, just create visibility for yourself somehow, lending your own
Yes.
voice in whatever it is you want to be known for. And I quickly, just reel it out. Your voice, take note in your campaign and branding or our visibility.
Yes.
Your voice, what language? You can do it in your local language. You will have your
Yes.
audience. You
Yes.
can do it in pidgin, you can do it in serious English grammar, you will get your audience. And then what is the message? What do you want to be known for? What do you want to be talking about? What do you want to be putting out there? What's your own style? Your own can be storytelling, your own can be video, your own can be voice. Who do you want to talk to that is your audience? What platform would work for you? Know the platform that works for you, and then be human. Tell us the serious thing, but tell us the day it is not working. Then chronicle your process. Let's see where it failed, where it didn't work, and where how you eventually arrived where you are. Thank you so much, Ramat, for
Thank you
coming
so much.
on Media Talks. I really, really, really appreciate this. We hope to hear more from you and glean more from you next time. Thank you
Yes.
so much. And we wish
Thank
you
you so much.
success in all of your projects.
I am so grateful, and I wish your audience the best as they chart their media path and their media careers forward. You're gonna do great. Big up
Thank
to you.
you.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining this conversation with Ramatu Ochekliye. Take away, don't forget to take away some of the nuggets, some of the tips she has given on to us, for creating visibility and branding our businesses, career, and just generally creating a campaign for yourself out there. Remember, it's a global space. Get in there and do your own thing, no matter how small. Do something for yourself. Catch you on another episode and conversation with another interesting person. Bye.